So, why were Japan and Sweden spared from these draconian lockdowns? I've been meaning to talk about this for quite some time, looking to see if anybody else would, but people seem to think that, oh, it's because their governments are so much more rational and they care about their people more and they're more science based and all this other stuff. And that may partially be true. I don't think so. I don't think it is at all. I think they're actually the reason why they were spared is because these governments are way ahead of their time, way ahead of all these other governments. Ideologically, I think they're basically the same. And don't get me wrong, there's just, in any government there are going to be good and bad people, as evidenced by the Italian parliament, right? The things that have been going on there for months now. Some people speaking out and wanting to get Bill Gates arrested. Sorry, guys, I don't have the time to talk about everything, but I'm pretty much aware of most of what's happening all around the world. So keep sending me those videos, but if you don't see me talking about that stuff, I just don't have the time. Anyway, Japan and Sweden are very much ahead of their times insofar as smart city control, grid, agenda, you know, what is it called? Agenda 2020, now rebranded Agenda 2030. Insofar as all that goes, they're way ahead of their time, right? Or everybody else for that matter. So they don't need to press down on those people too hard because they have already accepted so much more of this programming than anybody else around the world, right? They still have to bring Americans to their knees, and people in most places all over the world, they have to bring them to their knees in order to accept some of these dehumanizing measures. Like in Japan, you could go check out this documentary about residents living permanently in Japan's cyber cafes, right? Living in a Japanese internet cafe. If you know much about, there's a whole bunch of stuff like that. My wife's family, they're Japanese. She has an uncle who, up until just recently when his parents died, hadn't left his room for like 30 years. Hadn't left his room for 30 years. I'm not saying this is the majority of the Japanese, but it's very pervasive in their culture. There's people locking themselves up in these tiny little cubicles, rooms for weeks on end, months on end, years on end sometimes. Okay? Does the movie Matrix tell anybody anything? That's where this is headed, right? That's where this is headed. So the Japanese are very much dehumanized already. They have accepted living in very, very overcrowded cities, in these tiny homes, tiny apartments. Some of their hotels are literally just coffins, right? Some of these rooms in some of these hotels are literally coffins. Very much like the movie Matrix. Very much like that. Not far off from it, right? They already wear masks, making eye contact, especially during flu season, but the masks, that is. Making eye contact is considered impolite. Um, you don't look people straight in their eyes. They're very technologically advanced. They have cameras everywhere. I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm convinced their government tracks all their movement and they're okay with it. Like these people, they'll accept whatever, man. Whatever the government tells them, they'll accept it. Okay? Have you ever seen the Japanese protests for any reason? Have you? Yeah. So that's Japan. Okay? Kind of depressing, but that is what it is. Now, they're very humble people and they're just going to take it up the bum with no lube, basically. Or maybe lots of lube, but they're still going to take it up the bum. That's what they do over there. Men are extremely effeminate. They wear purses, nail polish. I mean, they wear makeup. They don't want to have sex anymore. Like the Japanese society is way ahead of everybody else, right? That's why there's no need to lock them down and bring them to their knees. Now, if you we're going to talk about Sweden now. go to YouTube and type in microchipping Europe. Yeah, just Europe. But you click on that first one. Why don't we? Sounds like Swedish to me. What did he say? Let's start from the beginning. Thousands of people in Sweden, oh, look at that, can access their computer. Unlike their home with a simple touch of the hand, blah, 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 right? These people are microchipped. Thousands of people in Sweden are microchipped. Why human microchipping is so popular in Sweden? Sweden sees microchip implant revolution. The day I got microchipped, how much you want to bet that's Sweden? Swedish employees getting implanted with microchips. Microchip implants. This seems to be...
Using public transport, getting access to buildings and paying for coffee is now as simple as a touch of your hand. A microchip implanted beneath the skin gives people the same capabilities as dozens of cards and devices. And it's not as painful as you might think.
What was once confined to science fiction movies...
It's maybe a little uncomfortable.
Predictive programming, right?
Just implanted a radium diode. They're the access codes to your drop spot.
...is now reality for some.
I can pay, open doors, and have my business card in there as well.
These Aussies say they're being microchipped to simplify.
This is Australia. But, you know, look at this dehumanized POS. Body modification artist. Completely dehumanized. Jesus. Anyway, Sweden has been on the forefront. They're early adapters of this technology. Most of these videos are going to be in Sweden. Look, thousands of Swedes have microchips. This has been going on for years. They're basically a cashless society already. They're early adapters of all these, you know, smart city control grid, new world order measures. So you don't need to lock the Swedes down, right? For many years, the alt-white been talking about how Sweden is cucked and all that other stuff. Not really realizing what's truly going on, concentrating on stuff that's a lot less important, and basically being diverted from seeing this is the problem with all these groups that being led by these disinfo agents and false gods and gatekeepers, so on and so forth, right? They're blinded by race and all this other stuff that doesn't ultimately matter. It's not that important. And they're not seeing the bigger picture and what's actually going on in Sweden that they should be talking about, right? Have you ever seen any of these alt-white people talking about how Sweden is really being, how these technologies are being implemented there? No. Because these people aren't awake. They're somewhat awake, but they're not there. Anyway, long story short, Sweden was allowed to stay open for the most part because they'll take the vaccine. They'll line up. They will all get microchipped. Vaccines, cashless society. You know, there's no need to press down very hard. I gotta go. In Sweden or Japan because they already got this. They're way ahead of everybody else. Okay? Thanks for watching.